What are some of the lessons we can learn from Warren Buffett and his initial investment in Berkshire Hathaway? Why did he buy this failing textile company, and how did he turn it around to become one of the most successful and famous investment companies in the world? These are some of the questions we will dive into in this video today. So Warren Buffett, he initially bought shares in the failing textile company Berkshire Hathaway because he thought the stock price of $7.50 was a bargain compared to the assets that were on the balance sheet. The current CEO, Seabury Stanton, he promised to do a stock buyback program where he would buy back the stocks for $11.50. But then he changed his mind and actually lowered the price to $11.35. And this made Warren Buffett so angry that he decided to take control of the company by buying even more stock and firing the CEO. And this was probably one of few occasions where Warren Buffett's emotions guided his investment decision and made him less rational, because now he was suddenly the CEO and chairman of a failing textile company. The trend was that textile production was being outsourced to cheaper countries, and Berkshire Hathaway could not compete with these prices. Buffett, he usually refers to the purchase of Berkshire Hathaway as his worst investment decision of his life, because if he instead would have invested directly in insurance companies rather than in Berkshire Hathaway, during the next 45 years he would have made another $200 billion compounded. So then the question is, how did Warren Buffett turn this failing company, this failing textile company, into one of the world's most successful investment companies? He decided to wind down and close the textile businesses, and this cash he could use to invest in and buy other companies. In 1967 he made his first investment and bought National Indemnity, an insurance company based in Omaha. In 1972 he bought another company called See's Candy, which would be an enormously profitable investment for Berkshire Hathaway, because after Buffett bought this chocolate company, he has managed to increase prices more than inflation each year, and that has produced enormous profits. Until today, the company has produced more than $2 billion in profits. That initial investment of $25 million has seen an 8,000% return on investment. And the cash flowing from See's Candy into the mother company, Berkshire Hathaway, has enabled them to make many more profitable investments, to use this as a cash cow. In 1967, Buffett decided to invest in Geico, a really great insurance company that had a temporarily low stock price. So one big difference here that Buffett did was, instead of buying cheap companies and trying to liquidate them and free up cash, he now started to buy excellent companies for a modest price. So he totally changed his investment philosophy to now look for great compounders, companies that would grow and produce profits for a very long time. And the man who influenced Warren Buffett to make this change was Charlie Munger, who also became the vice chairman of Berkshire Hathaway. So the question is, how can we as business owners learn from Warren Buffett and how he has structured Berkshire Hathaway? Could a business owner copy the structure of Berkshire Hathaway and the style of Warren Buffett? One man who has already done this is Bernard Arnault, CEO of LVMH. He got really inspired by Warren Buffett and wanted to apply the same structure within the luxury segment. So he took his family business in the luxury sector and started to buy up other companies that were struggling. So he purchased, for example, Christian Dior, Sephora, Tiffany's, and many others. So then you might say, yeah, but this is already a great entrepreneur with deep pockets. How can a small investor or a small business owner apply the structure of Warren Buffett? I really think that it can also be done by a small business owner. Let's say a baker who, instead of taking out a huge salary and paying themselves a huge dividend each year, they instead keep this cash, this surplus, within the company. Now they have a decision what they want to do with that cash. They could make a decision to buy part of or the entire business of one of their suppliers. They already know the sector in which they're working in. They now have added revenue, they add profit to the bottom line, and they will also see their asset column grow each year on their balance sheet. You see, when I've looked at different companies, I find that many businesses that have been running for 20, 30 years have huge cash reserves that they are not really applying, they're not really using it. They keep that cash in a bank account with 0% interest rate, and it just gets eaten by inflation each year. So perhaps this could be used more wisely. Perhaps it could be used to buy a competitor, to invest in a supplier, or why not buy the building where the company operates? I also find that many small businesses keep money sitting in depreciating assets that are not producing a return for them. It could be old machinery that is not used, old inventory, things that are just costing them money each month. If this could be freed up and put towards assets that produce income or produce profits, this could make a huge difference on the bottom line of the company. Another pitfall I see small entrepreneurs fall for is that as soon as they have made some money, they take that out for themselves as a salary or a dividend to buy a fancy car or a huge house or something, just to treat themselves or show off to everyone how successful they are. This causes them to be hit by a tax bill of maybe 50%, while at the same time they have now increased their private monthly expenses. And as soon as this business now faces a small problem, the entrepreneur needs to file for bankruptcy because they cannot keep their doors open another 6 months without any income. On the other hand, the entrepreneur who has invested in other assets could weather this storm more easily. Another idea that they use this time, for example a recession, to buy up another competitor, for example, that are struggling and is facing not having enough cash. One conclusion I draw from this is the more years we work in business, the more it pays off to start think like Warren Buffett, because the question of capital allocation becomes more and more important. The entrepreneur who has the same mindset as when they started out will probably be the one that only accumulates cash, never doing anything with it or never expands. I would be really curious to hear if you have done any research about Warren Buffett and lessons you have learned from him. Thank you so much for watching and see you next week.